Hello, everyone. Russia's conversation with the U.S. officials in Saudi Arabia is the big headline today when it comes to the war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, I just want to remind everybody the war still continues. That shit's still going on. Just a few days ago, we had a direct hit at the Chernobyl site. When I talked to my parents on Sunday, Zaporizhia, the city where I was born and grew up, and where my parents still live, is still getting bombed every day. So that shit's still going on while these assholes are sitting in a nice pretty room talking about how to surrender Ukraine to Russia. So just to put this into perspective. And again, everybody who is anybody and whose opinion I value, such as the few American sources that hadn't sold out yet, like Politico, PolitiFact, and Associated Press, as well as European sources, are basically reminding everybody that there are no Ukrainian representatives at these talks. So the injured party is not present. Reiterating that, it's not just Ukraine that's concerned about not being involved, but European allies are concerned about not being involved as well, because this directly affects them. I'd like to remind everybody that, first of all, they're geographically closer to what's going on. Second, some of Ukraine's European allies used to be part of the Russian Empire, so they know firsthand what it's like when Russia comes strolling into your home and takes away your rights. And of course, there is the question of, if Ukraine should fall, whom Russia will go after next. On the list are Moldova, some parts of Romania, Poland, the Baltic states, possibly more of Finland. Did you know Russia already hacked off a piece off of Finland? Oh, you didn't? Maybe you should look that up. Now, the U.S. representatives are trying to spin this like, well, it's just the beginning. I'm so sorry. Of course we will include Ukraine, eventually. So why aren't you including it now? Why? Why not? Why are you talking to Russia first? Russia is in the wrong here. Why are you talking to Russia first? Macron is trying to do damage control. And he talked both to Trump and Zelensky. And he's trying to, again, hammer down the message that the peace in Ukraine can't just be a stopgap for the next few years. It has to be something that can endure. It has to be something that can last. And if any concessions are made to Russia now, that's not going to be the case. Because basically Russia would once again get away with hacking off a piece of another country and would be just emboldened to continue doing the same. Saudi Arabia's role. Well, it's not complicated, actually. Saudi Arabia is a neutral ground, and it's one of the countries where Putin won't get arrested for war crimes. It's really that simple. There's nothing mysterious about it. There's nothing complicated about it. This is why they're meeting there and not in the United States or in Europe. This is why. And then there is the European Commission, who is refusing to give any direct answers about von der Leyen's meeting with U.S. Ukraine envoy Kellogg. They basically were asked repeatedly what was said, and they repeatedly didn't add any useful information. On one hand, they, again, are repeating the same thing, that there can be no just and lasting peace in Ukraine without Ukraine, but at the same time, they're refusing to disclose what assurances Keith Kellogg has given them. UK's Keir Starmer is in the news a lot, and he's in the unique position. So after Brexit, you may have noticed that there have been both agreements between UK and European states in terms of how they conduct their foreign policy, but there have also been deviations since the UK is no longer part of the European Union. The most remarkable thing right now about what Starmer is doing is that he is seriously considering the show of force and dispatching of the British troops and equipment to Ukraine, basically boots on the ground, which is starkly different than position of pretty much everyone else involved. And then there is this guy. So who is this man? This is Steve Witkoff. He is the Middle East envoy for the current administration. And here is the concern. While it's true that this man participated in several sets of negotiations, including in the Middle East, the concern is that he has no diplomatic experience whatsoever. He's a real estate broker. And the problem with that is that when you're negotiating a real estate deal, the priorities are very different from when you're negotiating a peace deal. So he's definitely not a fool. He's actually one of the smarter people, possibly one of the smartest people in the Trump administration. But the concern with everyone involved is how he might approach global politics, considering his experience is in real estate. There's an excellent BBC article where basically they break down for everybody who's interested what is involved, who is involved, and what everyone's priorities are before we dive into any serious negotiations and any deal making. There is the conversation about the UK and what they want, talking about, again, putting boots on the ground, and they have been very vocal, supplying Ukraine with weapons, providing training, sharing intelligence, and so on and so forth. I think UK is in this for the long run because they remember their own experience of fighting a solitary war during World War II before US finally decided to join the party. There's Germany. So somebody said, Germany could be amazing helping Ukraine. I agree, Germany could be amazing, and in some ways they have been amazing. The problem is that Olaf Scholz is very wishy-washy, and that worries me. He's a head of state. You cannot afford to be soft on certain issues. So he was the one who couldn't decide if he supported Ukraine's NATO membership or EU membership. Also, he was the one who spoke against sending long-range weapons to Ukraine. So let's keep that in mind as we talk about German participation. But that was a good point, though. Denmark and Nordic states, again, they have their own history with Russia and Baltic states specifically. They, again, have been extremely outspoken supporting Ukraine. So big thanks to them for that. We know where they stand. France is trying to position itself as kind of a leader, more so than Germany, much more established in its views. We all know what Russia wants. They want capitulation. No secret there. And Ukraine wants to be left alone and allowed to determine its own future, and for its women and children to stop getting murdered by Russian military.